The next phase of Bitcoin price appreciation, okay, is really going to be from institutional demand. We're at a $2 trillion market cap. The average, $1,000 DCA kind of investor, retail guy is not going to move that number from 2 trillion to 5 trillion. That's only going to happen if the big money comes in and buys it.
Price appreciation will be heavily influenced by institutional demand. With Bitcoin's market cap hovering around $2 trillion, the retail investors engaging in dollar-cost averaging strategies simply do not have the financial power to push the price significantly higher. Instead, it is the influx of large institutional capital that will drive Bitcoin's market cap from $2 trillion to $5 trillion and beyond. The good news, according to Krueger, is that institutional adoption is already well underway. The approval of Bitcoin ETF has opened the floodgates for large-scale investment. With the ETF being live for over a year now, institutions are steadily increasing their exposure to Bitcoin. Additionally, a pro-crypto administration in the United States is fostering a regulatory environment that is more conducive to institutional participation. The appointment of new leaders at the SEC and Treasury further strengthens the landscape for crypto adoption at the highest levels.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Now, the good news is the big money's here. We have the ETF. It's been out for 2 years now, right? So it came out in January, month of last year. Now it's been out for a year, a full year. And we now have a pro-crypto presidency. I wouldn't say a pro-Bitcoin one, but he is pro-Bitcoin, but more broadly pro-crypto. We have a new head of the SEC. We have a new head of the Treasury. Everything looks fantastic from an institutional adoption point of view. Moreover, the deficit doesn't look like it's anywhere near getting under control. Talking about turning Gaza into a hotel destination, that's not going to be cheap. So the fundamentals of Bitcoin from an institutional point of view have never looked better. And we have sovereign wealth funds like UAE almost certainly holds a lot of Bitcoin, could be several 100,000 Bitcoin. We have MicroStrategy that's buying like crazy still. Their STRK product is trading, last I checked, was trading around 85. It was up from 80 where it was initially priced. Yeah, so institutional demand is doing great. Retail's kind of screwed because retail didn't get enough Bitcoin. Retail went heavily into things like Trump coin and Melania coin. It went into, stories that are broken from the last cycle, like Cardano, and they haven't recovered. Now, so retail's just squeezed in general because of inflation, and they just haven't made the right move. So I would say it's not completely crazy that retail is so negative and institutional is so positive. I don't think it's crazy. These meme coins, I find them very interesting. I find them interesting from an anthropological point of view. I think there's more interesting kind of art ideas there than anywhere else. Every time I see one of these things, I kind of laugh. I was just talking about Prince, and somebody said, we're going to make purple Bitcoin, and gave me a bunch of purple Bitcoin. I don't think it's going to be worth anything ultimately, but it might be. Some of these might be the next Doge. So, they're completely lottery tickets, and you have about as much chance of winning as you do of hitting the Powerball. But it's entertaining. I like these meme coins from a pure entertainment standpoint, and I will be hosting every week on Friday something that I'm calling Meme Tank, where all these crazy meme coins can pitch me and the other judges, and if we like one of them, we'll invest a little bit of money into these meme coins just for fun. But again, this is entertainment. The real money is Bitcoin. You got to be in Bitcoin. If you have assets, where do you want those assets to be? I would argue that Bitcoin is where those assets should be. long term. So anyways, that's my take. I agree with Matt Haugen from Bitwise. He's completely right. One last thing I'd like to point out is completely different subject is I'd like to point out this MicroStrategy playbook of adding Bitcoin to your balance sheet has now not played out for one company in particular. It's a Singaporean company called Genius. They do AI learning. It's interesting. I don't dug too deep into the company, but it looks to be a relatively good idea. They've got about $20 million in sales. They have all kinds of clients and offerings, and they just went ahead and bought 400 Bitcoin using a rights offering. But stock absolutely collapsed, and it's actually trading below the Bitcoin value. So I think, it really goes to show that you can't, doing what Michael Saylor did is not as easy. It's not easy to replicate.
Once individuals understand its value proposition, they cannot unsee it. This phenomenon is driving Bitcoin's infiltration into traditional financial institutions. BlackRock, Fidelity, VanEck, and other major firms are now offering Bitcoin-related investment products, seeking to capture new customers in markets worldwide. Krueger highlights the growing opportunity in Bitcoin-related public equities. Companies operating in the Bitcoin ecosystem, such as mining firms and investment platforms, stand to benefit significantly from Bitcoin's continued rise. He personally invests in DeFi technologies, Hut 8, and Sol Strategies, all of which are actively engaged in the crypto sector. He views 2025 as a major opportunity for these stocks, as companies begin to integrate Bitcoin holdings into their balance sheets, much like real estate firms hold physical assets.
Well, first of all, I always laugh when the headline says something may happen, and meteor could hit Earth, etc. But I do think that there's this really important point here where when you see a big drawdown in price, it's not just the drawdown that you should pay attention to. It's how quickly is there a bid to push it back up. And Bitcoin is a very sensitive asset. It's very volatile. And so when the market goes down, Bitcoin went down. But it immediately got bid back up. And so what it shows is that historically in bull markets, we've seen multiple corrections of 30% or more. But in this bull market, we've not seen that. We've seen about 15% drops. And so the volatility to the downside is actually being muted, which tells you that as that price draws down in some of these gyrations, there are a ton of people who want Bitcoin. And so what that suggests is that there's more strength in the Bitcoin bidding. And I think a lot of it is because the traditional safe haven assets are being replaced by Bitcoin. If you go and you talk to anyone under the age of 35 years old, they don't want gold. They want Bitcoin. I think that Bitcoin is always a buying opportunity if you got a long time horizon. And the way that I look at this is gold's kind of like a bicycle. Bitcoin's like a Ferrari, right? They both get you to where you want to go, but there's a whole different speed in Bitcoin compared to gold. And if you look over the past 3, 5, 10 years, Bitcoin has drastically outperformed every other asset. And the reason is because what you're watching is the world is trying to price this new digital decentralized currency. What is it worth? And as more and more pools of capital look at it and say, hey, this may be interesting, all of a sudden people realize, oh, it's not just for individuals. It's not just for public corporations. It's not just for financial institutions. This may be for countries. Well, what would that be worth? And so as those capital pools turn and start to add Bitcoin, all of a sudden that total addressable market grows, and then therefore a finite asset, more supply, or more demand coming in, obviously the price goes up. And so I think that Bitcoin eventually at some point in the future will be worth over $1 million a coin. It's the question is just how quickly will it get there? I think that people are trying to pick apart every single word that these people are saying. If you just zoom out for a second and look at the macro story, the United States government is now going to embrace Bitcoin. And that's a really important deal because just like when Paul Tudor Jones and Stanley Druckenmiller came out in 2020 and they said, we own Bitcoin, what did that do? It provided career cover fire. Anyone on Wall Street could now go buy Bitcoin and they weren't going to get fired. You were doing what the greats were doing. What the United States is doing is it's providing career cover fire for every country in the world. Because as the United States embraces this, every other country now is going to say, hey, you know what? If it's good enough for the US, we should do this too. I had to stop saying in 2020 a saying that I had said for years, which was the virus is spreading. But I think we're now allowed to say that again. And the idea is that Bitcoin is a mental virus. It's a mind virus, right? Once you learn about Bitcoin, you begin to see it in a certain way. You can't stop thinking about it. You begin talking about it. Word of mouth spreads. And so what we're watching is Bitcoin infiltrate Wall Street. And they realized that there was volatility and that there was revenue and there's new customers. And that is the lifeblood of these financial firms. And so now they were able to penetrate into the United States, and you have BlackRock, Fidelity, VanEck, many others all saying, wait a second. Why don't we go and get customers in Europe or in Asia or in Latin America or wherever? And so what I think people have finally figured out is that Bitcoin is a new thing. It has this energy behind it. It has attention. It has new users that you don't have today. And so if you embrace Bitcoin, good things happen to your company, to your portfolio, etc. So I own 3 different stocks, DeFi Technologies, Hut 8, and then a company called Soul Strategies that are all crypto related. They all have operating businesses that do various different things. But I think what MicroStrategy really pioneered was putting these assets on the balance sheet. And so those 3 companies do that. MicroStrategy does it. Many miners do it. And I do think that there is going to be a huge opportunity in 2025 for what I call Bitcoin or crypto related public equities. So these are companies that operate in the space, but they're also putting these assets on the balance sheet. And really, this is just like a real estate company, right? Real estate companies put real estate on the balance sheet. As that value goes up, obviously the balance sheet grows. And so that's what people are doing here, but they're doing with liquid assets that are asymmetric and really explosive, which is pretty interesting.
Fred Krueger provides a compelling case for Bitcoin's next phase of growth, driven by institutional demand and a shifting macroeconomic landscape. While retail investors may have missed their chance to accumulate substantial Bitcoin holdings, institutions are stepping in with significant capital inflows. Meme coins provide entertainment value, but do not offer the long-term wealth preservation that Bitcoin does. Meanwhile, Bitcoin's reduced downside volatility and increasing global adoption suggest a strong upward trajectory. As we move into the next phase of the market cycle, Bitcoin's journey to $1 million per coin seems increasingly inevitable.